Disclaimer: this video calls the anti-Messiah the Antichrist, which is incorrect because the true Messiah is not actually called Christ, but Mashiach. Christ is a title that means anointed, that was given to multiple satanic deities before the Messiah was even born, such as Christus, Mitras, and DionYsus, Christus. Yahusha was never called Christ, but is called Mashiach, which means Messiah. Although both Mashiach and Christ mean anointed, only one title is given to the true anointed one, Mashiach, which has the definition of being the king of Yashra'al, the true name of Yahuwah's people, which is mistranslated today as Israel. Christ is not the anointed king of Yashra'al, but is a false anointed one. So the anti-Messiah is a false Mashiach, but not an antichrist.
This is probably going to be one of the most controversial videos I've ever made, but listen till the end because it might change your life. I want to talk about the mark of the beast and the number of his name, 666. It's important to talk about because the Antichrist has been here for a long time and he's deceived the world already. But the man of lawlessness is being revealed right now. In Revelation, when it says reckon up his name, for it's the number of a man and the number is 666. That word reckon up is arithmos. It might mean to add up, but it also implies a riddle. He's like saying figure this out. And I think the reason why he says figure this out is because he was hearing sounds that weren't available in the Greek language. And so he wrote down 666 in an effort to best pronounce the name that he was hearing in this vision of the future. But 666 is just what all those letters add up to. What if you can actually pronounce it? Chai, Zai, stigma. Chai makes a ch or a ch sound. Zai is a z, and stigma is s. So if you put it all together, you get Jesus. 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 Now, I know you've heard that name sounds awfully lot like another name that we all know, Jesus. Now, what would John write down if he heard the name Jesus? The letter J was not invented until 400 years ago, but ch sounds an awful lot like ch. Jesus is the same name as Jesus. John never knew a man named Jesus. He only knew the Messiah, who was Yahusha. I know how shocking it is to learn this, that the Antichrist's name is literally Jesus. Because when I found this out, I was sick to my stomach and absolutely nauseous for days. I mean, how many prayers have I lifted up to Jesus? A lot of Christians say, and a lot of pastors will teach you, that Jesus came to free us from the law. But that is the opposite of what the scriptures say about the Messiah. The scriptures say that Messiah will come to restore the Torah and teach it correctly. That he will rule by the Torah. So anybody teaching this other Jesus, the one that says you don't have to keep the commandments and that the law doesn't matter anymore, that's the man of lawlessness. Jesus is that man of lawlessness. The Roman Catholic Church perpetuated this idea of this Antichrist Jesus, and they spread him throughout the world. But the real Messiah, Yahusha, is coming. So repent.
Let's get back to this symbol. Let's place that into the scripture in its proper location. Here's wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is. How did John pronounce the Greek symbols? Chai is pronounced chi, as in cheese. Z is pronounced Z, as in zebra. Stigma is pronounced S, as in sun. Now, putting it all together, we get the false blasphemous name. Jesus. Jesus. There was no letter J when John wrote this, nor does that letter exist today in Hebrew or Greek. So how would John have conveyed that name to the readers in his day? You need to ask yourself, do I worship Jesus?
Here is the Revelation chapter 13 in Greek. You can see there at the end, there's no 666 in there. There is the monogram or the Christogram of Jesus Christ, the Chi, Psi, and Sigma. Our translators converted the Greek letters Chi, Psi, and Sigma into the numbers 666 because they mistranslated the meaning of the Greek word arithmos in Revelation chapter 13 as number, which is the common definition. But since John did not write down a number, they should never have changed the subject of the text just to accommodate the common definition of arithmos. They should have properly translated arithmos in context without changing the text. What John was shown in Revelation chapter 13 by Yahuwah was a vision of the mark, the symbol of the serpent, the pictogram, and the monogram of Jesus Christ to the exclusion of any other figure, real or imaginary, in history. John did not see, nor did he write down a number, the number 666. The symbol John saw was a symbol for Jesus Christ, which is called a Christogram. Here's an entry for the definition of Christogram, and it's basically, a Christogram is a combination of Greek letters that form an abbreviation for the name Jesus Christ, which is exactly what John wrote. There's many different types of Christograms associated with Christianity. Here's the Catholic Encyclopedia. We see that XS, now in the Middle Ages it was XC. They used a C for the sigma. Today we use an S. So in paintings, when you see XC, just know that's actually today. If they were to paint those paintings today, it would be XS. But anyway, the Catholic Encyclopedia admits that XS, as used by or Chi Sigma, as used by John in Revelation chapter 13, is one of the standard Christograms. In fact, it is the most common Christogram. So John was inspired by Yahuwah to use the one everyone would recognize. Below is the entry for IHS. That's the other most common Christogram. But as I'm going to show, they are equivalent. It just takes a little wisdom and insight and a little inspiration from Yahuwah to break these codes. So here it is. Here's the Catholic Encyclopedia. Notice down there that it says that it's used as a symbol. So it wasn't ever a number. So that's a key of how they should have translated arithmos. They should have translated it as a symbol because John wrote down a symbol, and it's a symbol that represents the false Messiah. It's not a number. And you also notice down there that it says, it says thus ICXC, which today is ISXS, or IHS and XPS. These are all common forms of Aesios Christos. So when John wrote down Chi, Psi, and Sigma, he was naming Aesios Christos specifically. Now, there are many Christograms used throughout history, and all of them use different combinations of the Greek letters in Christos. Here is Christos in Greek. You see that the X, or the Chi, is the first letter of Christos, and the S, or the Sigma, is the last letter. This is the Christogram John saw and wrote down. But the Christogram John wrote down is unique, using the Greek letter that symbolizes the serpent, the Psi. You see the serpent in an upright coil. John used the first and last letters in Christos, which is the most common symbol in history for Jesus Christ, combined with the letter Psi in the middle. These three Greek characters represent the pagan Greek title Christos, used of all pagan demigods, but in this one, John used the symbol of the serpent mentioned in Revelation 13:1. Here is Dr. E.W. Bullinger's book, Number and Scriptures, page 49, and he says, indeed, the expression of this number, Chi, Psi, and Sigma, consists of the initial and final letters of the word Christos, Christ, the Psi, and the Sigma, with the symbol of the serpent between them. The middle letter represents the symbol of the serpent and is intimately connected with the ancient Egyptian mysteries. And we see when in all the paintings of Jesus Christ where they put the Chi Sign Sigma in there, they put the Psi above it and even admit that that is the symbol of a sacred name. I mean, it's right there in plain sight. It's the secret Egyptian mysteries, that have identified this false Messiah. The Psi symbol is the serpent in an upright coil. Now, this is the most common symbol in history for the serpent. The universal symbol for the serpent throughout the ages and cultures is a serpent in an upright coil. So you can see here. It's even the symbol of our medical symbols and things like that. But most times when you see a symbol of a serpent, it's a serpent in an upright coil. That's why they used the letter Psi to represent the serpent. So what John was telling us by using the standard monogram for Jesus Christ, XS, is that the sea serpent, or the dragon, would be the source of the power, great authority, and throne of the false Messiah. And John illustrated this fact by inserting the symbol of the serpent, the Psi, in between the most common Christograms in history, Chi Sigma. And like I said, this is displayed on all the paintings painted of Jesus Horse Krishna, and it's even admitted that they put that symbol in there, because that is a sacred name, and it's what gives that name its power. Throughout history, the name of the false Messiah, Jesus Christ, has been represented by symbols, not numbers, as John demonstrated by writing down the symbol Chi Sign Sigma, his monogram or Christogram, in Revelation chapter 13:18. So how did we get the number 666? The word arithmos, translated as number in Revelation 13:18, should have been translated as symbol or figurative representation that lifts up a specific man as to identify him by name, such as a mark, pictogram, or monogram. In Revelation 13:18, the Greek word translated number in English is Strong's number 706, arithmos. Arithmos can mean number because a number is just a symbol, as in this case, a symbol that represents a specific calculated measurement of units. Arithmos can also mean representation or symbol in the sense of reckoned up to identify something. The words representation and symbol are English synonyms for number. See your thesaurus. Given that John wrote a symbol, not a number, in context of Revelation 13:18, symbol would have been much more accurate English word for the Greek word arithmos in context of this verse. The translators should have used an English word, found a synonym that properly communicated what John was saying, keeping the proper context with the focus on the subject, which was a symbol. To understand which word, number, or symbol better represents arithmos in this specific case, the translators should have realized that John did not write down a number and then consulted the root word of arithmos, which is ario. Ario gives us a full sense of what John was saying, given he wrote down a symbol, not a number. Arithmos is derived from the Greek root word ario, which is Strong's 142. And you can see here it is to lift up, to figuratively represent something. In other words, a symbol, that is used to lift up and identify something. The word arithmos, in conjunction with its root ario, implies a symbol that is used to figuratively lift up by representation, not a mathematical symbol as a number used to calculate. Arithmos is used by John in Revelation 13:18 and means a symbol or figurative representation that identifies the name of the false Messiah. In other words, a mark, a pictogram, or a monogram. That is why John did not write down a number after arithmos. He wrote down 3 Greek letters that is used as a symbol that figuratively represents the name Jesus Christ. So arithmos, as used by John in context, should have been translated as symbol in the sense of a figurative representation to lift up and identify the name of the false Messiah. That is the full meaning and how it is used by John in Revelation 13:18. It is no wonder John warned us we would need wisdom and insight to figure this one out, because the lying pen of the scribes has struck yet again, as Yahuwah warned us in Jeremiah 8:8. What John was actually saying and how it should have been translated is this. Revelation 13:18. This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight reckon up the symbol of the beast, for it is the symbol of a man that identifies him. That symbol is Chi, Psi, and Sigma. That is the proper rendering of Revelation 13:18. This figurative representation that lifts up to identify, i.e., Chi, Psi, and Sigma, is the symbol of Jesus Christ exclusively. No other figure in human history uses this symbol. No other image has abolished the law and is the lawless one and changed the ordained times to pagan rituals. Only Jesus Christ, and he is named by name by John. The symbol John wrote down in Revelation chapter 13 is the symbol for Jesus Christ and no one else. This symbol is emblazoned on the, quote, image of the false Messiah in almost every painting of him in antiquity, clearly identifying Jesus Christ as the false image of the Messiah or false Messiah that would be worshipped as God incarnate above Yahuwah throughout this age. What John wrote down was the Chi, Psi, and Sigma. He did not write down 666. This is the symbol of the beast, Jesus Christ, that John warned us about. This symbol is on paintings, murals, and statues identifying Jesus Christ specifically. We see the Chi and Sigma, which is the Christogram of Jesus Christ, with the Psi, which is a symbol of the serpent, painted above the Christogram, indicating that this false image is under the authority of the dragon. As John said in Revelation chapter 13, it is the dragon or the sea serpent that gives this false image his power, throne, and authority. Simply move the Chi symbol of the serpent back into the Christogram, and you have the symbol of the beast written down by John in Revelation chapter 13, clearly written on paintings and murals worldwide. We see this false Messiah, Jesus Christ, making the symbol of the beast with his hands the exact symbol John said would identify him to the world. He makes the Chi or the X by crossing his index and middle fingers. He then floats his ring finger by itself, making the Psi or the symbol of the serpent. Then makes a C by cupping the palm of his hand with his little finger and thumb. Reading from top down, we have the Chi, Psi, and Sigma prominently displayed boldly in the face of all humanity to condemn all those who have elevated him in their hearts as God incarnate. We see the symbol of the corrupted version of the zodiac, the cross inside the sun, identifying Jesus as the Son of the Lord, which is a title for Baal. We see the mark of the beast, the X or the Chi, clearly displayed behind the head of this false Messiah, and even inscribed on the word of Yahuwah, indicating his word would be altered to promote this false Messiah, the Antichrist. The Bible would be altered, the true name of the Messiah taken out, and the name of this false Messiah inserted in its place.
Of the Greek alphabet had a numerical or a number equivalent to every letter in that alphabet. So the alphabetical equivalent of 666 in the ancient Greek alphabet was Chi, Xi, Sigma, and this was 660 and 6. Now, we have to realize that in the modern Greek alphabet, these letters are a little bit different. The Chi is represented by a straight X. The Xi is represented by something that is just 3 dashes coming down. And then the Sigma looks somewhat like a cross between a Z and an E. So here we have Zeus in the ancient way that the Greeks would have pronounced this. And we also have to realize that in these ancient alphabets, they did not use vowels. So without the vowel, that says Jesus or God is Zeus as well.